Hey everyone! Today I'm going to be speaking about what I think is the most expensive mistake that designers always do when designing CNC machining parts, and I think these are internal sharp corners. So I'll be presenting what they are and, most importantly, how to prevent them and then save money. I'm going to be focusing on these simple pocket-like geometries where it's very easy to a beginner to understand what might go wrong. I'm just going to be designing 4 simple pockets, and each one of them with a very simple difference. The first pocket that you see me designing here has no internal corners. The second one will have internal corners with a radius. The third one will have T-bone fillets, and the fourth one will have dog bone fillets. We're actually today going to be milling them on the Stepcraft that I have brought over here, which is the little desktop CNC milling machine that we use for didactic purposes here at the office. A sharp corner would be defined as this, meaning you have a corner and then that corner is sharp. When you're working with CNC machining as a technology, you have round tools, what we call milling tools. The problem with those tools is that when they try to go as close as possible to that corner, they're going to be blocked, and there's no amount of effort I can bring that is going to make this tool able to reach this little corner, and that's why internal sharp corners are so problematic. So then you're going to be asking, how can I solve this as a designer, and how do I save money? But basically the first and easiest way to save money is to have round corners, and what that achieves is that by having round corners, you just make sure that you have a geometry that actually follows that of a milling tool. You're just going to have a geometry that is followed very easily by the tool, so you don't have any mistakes or any errors that are going to be made or any difficulties met by the machinist with that kind of design. Now, the second problem, if you need to fit a square part inside of your pocket that doesn't have round corners, or if you don't want to spend time designing that part to have round corners, what you can do then is having what we call dog bone or T-bone fillets. When you do dog bone or T-bone fillets and you actually had a relief radius that makes it so that there's actually going to be a space for the sharp corner of your part to fit in without actually getting blocked on a radius like here, which would cause, of course, the part not to fit. And then, of course, you have the even easier one, which is to make a T-bone like this that looks a little bit like a hat or a bear, depending on how you want to look at it, or a bone in the shape of a T. And then just having those relief holes where the tool can escape. Ideally, these are of constant radius. Then, of course, you have a little bit of a relief hole that makes the milling tool go in a very clear way, exit, and then you have internally a 90-degree angle on which your 90-degree sharp external corner can fit in very easily. Basically, this first cavity here, I try to tell the machine to machine it with sharp internal corners, and what happened, of course, because my milling tool has a radius, the machine ended up telling me that it's not possible to machine those, and then it ended up machining it at a radius. So here on the second cavity that you see here, I designed this one with a 3mm radius, which incidentally is the radius of my milling tool, so making me able to save time and money. But this is a controlled choice. The only inconvenient in making a round corner internally is that it may impact assembly. So I'm going to be showing to you with the simple little assembly that I made here is another part. It's the male part to the female pockets that I made here. If I have a male part that has sharp external corners and I want to be putting it or assembling it in a cavity, then this is where the T-bones and dog bones that we spoke about can come in very handy without the use of very expensive tools like EDM. So if you look at the second and fourth cavity that we have here, this one we made with what we call T-bone fillets that we presented earlier in the drawings, and then you can see how having some of those like relief radii makes me able to insert this part inside of there, and these are the little radii that make it so that a square part can fit inside of this not so square hole anymore. And then the other one, dog bone fillets, which is a slightly more elegant solution, which just adds a little bit of relief, and you can see that I'm able to fit this part in perfectly as well without having to design sharp internal corners. So that's it. for today. I hope you enjoyed this little machining video, and let us know if you'd like to see some more about how to hands-on make good design considerations for your machining projects, and see you next time.